Hey guys, Scott here. Today I want to talk about something very near and dear to my heart, which is Souls games PvP, and people are already complaining about Elden Ring's PvP being extremely weighted against the invader, much kind of how it was in Dark Souls 3. And Dark Souls 3 did have a couple of issues. One of the main ones was level scaling wasn't really proper. You could have a very high level host playing with his friend, and it wouldn't scale his level down as well as it should have. So you had this sort of issue where it was a very mismatch of gear. It wasn't very common to have like a level 800 guy helping his level 10 friend, but it was possible with passwords and things like that. So that was an issue, and I hope they fixed that. But other than that, the main complaint that people have about Elden Ring is the same complaint that people had about Dark Souls 3's PvP. And I want to go over how over time I've sort of come to realize that it's not actually that bad. And this is not like a copium thing. So, for example, when I first started Souls games, I started playing Dark Souls 1, but Dark Souls 2 is when I really got into PvP. And that game had my favorite PvP system in it. Basically, you can invade essentially anybody. You can even invade solo players who had already killed the host of, or killed the boss of that area. So there were always invasions to be had. And the thing is, though, although it was really entertaining for me to stream it and invade people, you would almost never lose when you invaded just a solo player, because that's not actually fair. When you go into an invasion, you are ready for an invasion, you're geared up, you're built exactly for what you're going to be doing. When you're invading a host, though, they could be at half an Estus fighting a giant with like a broken shield and a broken sword or something like that. It's not exactly fair. So when people run in and just backstab the guy and then just fucking teabag on their body, it doesn't exactly it doesn't merit a very fun first experience in the game for the people just running through the game. You also got to think about who you're invading. You're not invading PvP gods. PvP gods are not running around with two phantoms struggling to kill bosses and stuff like that. You're typically just invading just casual players who just want to either play the game with their friends, so they're just very chill about it, or they're not good enough at the game to beat whatever content that they're currently at, so they need the help from their friends. Either way, they're probably not exactly PvP gods that, if you entered a 1v1 with them and you're prepared for PvP and they're not, you're going to win every single time. And, again, as much as I love doing it in Dark Souls 2, I have to, over time, I've gotten older or something, I've realized that's just not fair. That's not really how it's supposed to be. And so over time, it shifted towards, Dark Souls 3 making it definitely more weighted against the invader. And this is definitely true. Now, there's a couple of things, though. First off, people are complaining in the network test already that it's, extremely unfair getting ganked and stuff. And yeah, in the network test, kind of, yeah, it is. Because when you think about it, the way you deal with, at least the way I dealt with it in like 2v1s and 3v1s and stuff like that, is you have to have some form of burst damage, right? Whether it be a parry, a backstab, even a charge thrusting Leo ring counterattack could do so much damage that it was hard to recover from. And you need that kind of burst damage. In the network test, you don't have anything remotely close to burst damage. And the problem with that is, if you don't have no burst damage, then it just becomes a war of attrition, where it's just basically more Estus against your less Estus. And eventually, Flask of Crimson Tears. And then, you just lose the war of attrition. You will run out of healing resources before they do. If you don't have any type of burst damage, then yeah, you're not going to win that often in a 3v1 if you're playing in this playstyle. However, in the real game, you know damn well there's going to be the Elden Hornet Ring, and you're going to be able to parry and quick swap to a fucking plus 90 God-infused George R.R. Martin stick, and that does 80 billion damage, and you'll be able to one-shot phantoms. You know that shit's going to happen. It's been like that in every Souls game. I don't know why it would be different in Elden Ring, which is essentially just Dark Souls 3 in an open world. So there's going to be that stuff that's going to let you even the playing field quite a bit more if you just want to run into three players and just try to just style on them and kill them all. As soon as you can take one player out, it becomes way easier. You get more Estus back, and the burst damage missing from the network test is key. The damage, intervals are not very well balanced in a network test, really. You're doing 30 damage a hit. People have like 1,000 health or something. It's just you need to do 50 hits to kill people. It's not how it's going to be in the actual game. It's never been like that. So, yeah, in the network test, you should not be basing your opinions off a network test where you have no build, basically. You can't prepare as an invader to deal with this. Now, the other thing that I do want to talk about is the fact that if you run into a 1v3 in an open field, yeah, you're probably going to get fucked. Even if you have a build for it, it's probably not going to go in your favor. And the more I listen to like interviews with Miyazaki, I realize that that's not what invasions are supposed to be. You are supposed to be a nuisance in the world. You're not supposed to be a person on equal footing as the host that you're invading, because that's not equal footing, because the host has, the world against them, while you can just run past all this shit and then wait till they're fighting something and then just gank them with whatever world enemy is currently attacking them. Now, obviously, you can take damage from world enemies too, but they're still going to target the host. So 1v1 invasions like that are not actually fair. And because it's something against the host's will, it should always kind of favor them. But you can't just run in a 1v3 and just try to style on people unless A, you have a really good build for it, which I have no doubt you'll be able to do, or B, you're a god, or a combination of both. So people will be able to do that, but that's not really how invasions are supposed to work in this game. I always see it as you're really supposed to be, especially in this type of open world game, you're meant to be more of like a Gollum type figure, where you just follow the Fellowship of the Ring and you just sort of like pester them at intervals and stuff like that. And especially with this new Phantom Bloody Finger item, when things get bad and you're in a scenario like this, you can just teleport out and wait until they go further into the match. Now, obviously, it was a network test, so I was just sprinting in 3v1s all the time because I had 3 hours to play. I'm going to get as much PvP in as possible. I'm not going to track one guy. I'm not going to track a band of Urukai across the plains for 3 hours in my network test then. So I wasn't playing like that, but I acknowledge that I'm not really meant to be winning. You can just teleport out like this anytime you're in danger and then regroup and try to get to somewhere where the world is more stacked against them. That's always how it's sort of been with invasions. You're meant to use the world with you. You have the choice of when combat initiates as the invader. So you can wait for them to approach a dangerous foe and then even the playing field by doing, stuff like that. Or you can just be an archer on a cliff above them, shoot them with Dragon Slayer Great Hours, knock them off cliffs. You can be a chameleon waiting for them, knock them off a cliff with force. Like, there are so many more ways than just brute forcing 3v1s as an invader that you have to think about that people are just not doing and then complaining that they're dying in a 3v1. So you guys have to be a bit more creative with it. And obviously, again, this is a network test. You can't do that because there's nothing to... You don't have the stuff... You don't have the tools to do that yet. But I promise you will. You will have the tools to do that stuff. And even in these types of network tests, you can still play in a scrappy playstyle where you're using the world to benefit you. If you want duels, there are summon signs for that. You can still have your 1v1 duels, and it's totally fine. There is a mechanic for that. But when you're invading a guy's, essentially, playthrough, yeah, it's going to be stacked against you, and that's okay. It's supposed to be stacked against you. And there's actually a lot of tools now that make it so that you can recuperate, find somewhere else to be kind of a scrappy little shit. And, if they're being dishonorable by 3v1ing you, you can be dishonorable back by using every enemy in the world whenever you want. They have to progress through the world at some point, right? They're not just going to stand still for 40 minutes while you just sit behind an enemy. If they want to play the game, you're on their timetable. So knowing that, you can play like a little shit as well, and it evens things out. But again, I'm just saying, don't base things based off of the network test. It's not a good example of what the game is going to be like. You have no invading build while you're doing this, so of course it's going to be really against you. I get the experience in this test was not very great, and if they don't fix certain things like proper host scaling, it could be annoying even in the live game. But I would imagine they would fix that issue because it was such a problem in Dark Souls 3. Then again, SS canceling and stuff is still in the game too, so we'll see. But the point is, I think people should take a more optimistic look at the PvP in this game. It is not meant to be brute force 1v3, especially with the whole open world thing. You're meant to play in a more scrappy playstyle. If you want to play in a more dual playstyle, you can just put down a red summon sign and just have a regular duel. And finally, this is the network test. You don't have the builds or the levels or the, anything. You don't have the gear. You don't have the build to prepare for this type of outnumbered scenario. And you will be able to do that in a real game. That's always been the case with every Souls game. I don't know why it would be different this time. So that is it, guys. I just want to talk about that. Relax. I think the PvP in this game is going to be fucking amazing. If you don't want to have to deal with 3v1s, then there will be plenty of fight clubs, I can tell. I cannot wait for, fight clubs in a giant open plain. It's just going to be so sick. I'm very excited, and I hope you guys are too. Thanks for watching. See ya.